Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military with Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in the world on the 4th of April of 2026. Today we have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about the Middle East. It seems that the Iranians have just 48 hours before something terrible happens. They have just 48 hours to accept demands of the United States of America and to accept the terms of capitulation. But as we understand, this is not going to happen. And you know that there is a very funny story with these 48 hours. We received lots of updates about these 48 hours during the previous 24 hours. For example, media stated that the US proposed a 48-hour ceasefire via a third country. Iran rejected it indirectly by continuing heavy attacks instead of giving a written response. And later we received another update on this. Let's say 48 hours. The President of the United States of America stated that, remember, when I gave Iran 10 days to make a deal or open the Hormuz Strait, time is running out. 48 hours before all hell will rain down on them. That was stated today by the President of the United States of America. And according to this situation, we believe that right before Monday starts, probably in the end of Sunday of the 5th of April of 2026, the United States of America, the coalition, will begin bombing and attacking the territory of Iran right after the end of the Easter. And it seems that the President of the United States of America is not joking, but the problem is that he chose a very interesting time when he is planning to carry out something with Iranians, maybe a ground operation, maybe massive bombardments of the state, and he's going to do this right before financial markets open. And obviously this statement and the beginning of bombardments or anything right before markets open will push the oil prices even higher. I would like to remind you that just yesterday the coalition sent a message to the Iranians, and we are talking about the bridge in the northwestern parts of the Tehran agglomeration. If you remember, we received lots of updates that as a result of attack the bridge was destroyed completely, and today on the 4th of April of 2026 we received additional videos from this area, and this video was published today. Here we can see the moments when the coalition attacked the bridge in the northwestern parts of the Tehran agglomeration. Heavy explosions, and even during this video we might see probably an aircraft. I know we haven't seen aircraft, but there were two very heavy explosions in this area, and that was something like a message sent by the coalition. Here we can see the same bridge, but from another angle, probably several days after. As you can see, the bridge was completely destroyed, reduced till ruins. Once again, that was something like a message sent by the coalition. If you don't accept the demands of the coalition within the next 48 hours, a lot of objects of critical strategical infrastructures through the territory of Iran will be reduced to ruins, as the bridge in the northwestern parts of Iran. But it seems that the Iranians are not going to accept anything. So this topic of ultimatum is a very important topic, because nobody knows for sure what is going to happen next. So 48 hours and probably tomorrow on the 5th of April of 2026 at let's say 8 or 9 or 10 p.m. of the Iranian time. And what is going to happen next? You know that probably the United States of America was planning to carry out a landing operation, but it seems that something went wrong, because during the previous days we received lots of reports that the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, dismissed lots of generals. And if you ask my opinion, I believe that he dismissed him because they rejected to be in charge of any possible ground operation on the territory of Iran, because most likely these generals realized that this could be a suicide operation. But it seems that this position of these generals didn't stop the Secretary of War, and most likely the ground operation is inevitable. Maybe a partial, maybe a limited operation, but obviously something is going to happen. But one thing is clear, that several generals of the United States of America don't want to be in charge of this and don't want to be responsible for the consequences of something that is going to happen with within the next 48 hours, when the ultimatum that was issued by the President of the United States of America And another important thing, as for the current situation, not as for the next 48 hours, as for the current situation, the most important things were happening in the southwestern and in the southern parts of Iran. During the previous 24 hours, an epic rescue operation was carried out by the United States of America. I would like to remind you that yesterday we received a report that F-15 was damaged by the air defense forces of Iran, and the F-15s fell down somewhere in the southwestern parts of Iran. And when it happened, the United States of America launched immediately a rescue operation. And here we can see helicopters, two helicopters of the coalition that were flying over the southwestern parts of Iran, trying to find the position of pilots. During the previous 24 hours, we received the report that the United States of America managed to rescue and to evacuate at least a pilot, but the destiny of the second pilot is unknown. The most important and the most difficult thing is that the Iranians are seeking and searching for this pilot as well. As you can see, even in this video, we can see helicopters of the United States of America that were flying on the low altitudes, and we see that the Iranian police officers were attacking these helicopters with rifles, so which means that the Iranians are sending their forces in this region as well, and this is going to be a very difficult situation. The Israelis reported that they are not involved in this rescue operation carried out by the United States of America. Another important thing is probably these pictures where we can see helicopters that were launched by the United States of America. Maybe this is AI generated video, who knows, but the author of this video stated that these helicopters were damaged by the Iranian forces with like this one, like this episode when they were attacking these helicopters with rifles or something like this. So anyway, the US authorities and the coalition authorities haven't confirmed this situation. Another important episode took place in the southern parts of Iran, probably over the Strait of Hormuz and the island of Kashmir. Here we can see a video that was published by pro-Iranian source, and here we can see how the Iranians attacked with air defense systems an A-2 and A-10 aircraft, storm aircraft that was flying over the territory. So this is another episode, another aircraft that was damaged by the Iranians over the previous 24 hours. Few more videos were published from the central part of Iran, from the area of the city of Isfahan, and here we can see an air defense system of Iran that attacked and probably damaged or even destroyed several drones that were flying over the southwestern parts of Iran. So as you can see, the Iranians, right before the end of ultimatum that was issued by the President of the United States of America, right before the beginning of a possible landing operation, the Iranians have improved their air defense forces significantly. The sources are saying that this happened because either the Russian Federation or China provided the Iranians with modern radars that allow them to control the sky over Iran. And obviously, if this situation is true, if this is exactly the case, then most likely in coming days we'll see more updates on this matter, more damage or even destroyed aircrafts of the United States of America. As for the previous 24 hours, the coalition continued bombing and attacking objects of military infrastructure through the state of Iran. This video was received from the city of Tehran. Another bombardment took place during the previous night. Furthermore, we received reports that the United States of America and the coalition continued launching missiles deep inside of the territory of Iran using ATACMS missile systems and HIMARS missile systems. Furthermore, we received the report that the industrial zone in the southwestern parts of Iran was damaged significantly. At least 50 US-Israeli airstrikes targeted the Maroon petrochemical complex in the city of Bandar-e-Mashahar, southwestern Iran. Furthermore, the Iranians from their side attacked the Kuwait city, its southern parts, and we received this video where we can see the consequences of attack on the biggest or one of the biggest oil refineries on the territory of this state. Furthermore, the coalition struck back, and we received a report about explosions on the territory of the city of Bashar around the Bashar nuclear power station. The sources reported that there were casualties among civilians. Furthermore, the Iranians continue attacking vessels and ships through the Strait of Hormuz. In this video, we can see a new video. This video shows a fishing vessel that was attacked in the area of the Persian Gulf, just off the Strait of Hormuz. But at the same time, we received the report that today a Japanese LNG tanker has safely passed through the Strait of Hormuz. The sources are saying that and we see that more and more vessels, not just vessels that are being considered as vessels belong to the friendly countries, can cross the Strait of Hormuz, but as we can see also vessels that belong to neutral countries are able to do the same situation. And for example, during the previous 24 hours, we received the report that Iran has developed a maritime regulation system for the Strait of Hormuz. Tehran has divided all states into hostile, neutral, and friendly. The first group will be prohibited from passing through the strait. The second will require to pay increased fees, and the third will be able to use the road without restrictions. So according to information we have, and now we see that France most likely and Japan are being considered by the Iranians as a neutral or a friendly countries, which is something very important, and which is something like attack or something probably unacceptable for the United States of America. As for relations between France and the United States of America, there is nothing special, because we saw these days a very big conflict between Macron and Trump. But as for Japan, it seems that something is happening behind the doors, behind the scenes, that we don't understand. But if Japan is a friendly or neutral state for Iran, it's something that obviously the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, won't accept. So this is the situation in the Middle East. We are waiting for the next 48 hours. It seems that already 36 hours left for the Iranians to accept the capitulation, but most likely they won't do this. Now let's move to Ukraine and let's discuss the situation in this area. According to information we have, the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, came to Turkey with the purpose to have a conversation with the president of Turkey, Erdogan. It seems that due to the fact that the United States of America have almost abandoned the negotiation process between Ukraine and Russia, it seems that Turkey is trying to become in the middle of this process and to probably to help the Ukrainians and the Russians to find a way how to settle a conflict between them. So most likely Zelensky came to Turkey with the purpose to discuss the situation and probably to arrange a meeting between Zelensky and maybe even the president of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin. But the sources are saying that it seems that the Russians are not going to change their position. Furthermore, today the Russians revealed probably some changes to demands that they're going to issue to the Ukrainians in the end of May. If you remember, according to Zelensky, the Russians issued the ultimatum to him and to Ukraine several days ago, and according to the new ultimatum, the Ukrainians must withdraw their forces from the territory of the Donbas region. Otherwise, the Russians would change their demands, and it seems that the Russians have already revealed some details about upcoming changes. Today, for example, the former president of the Russian Federation, Medvedev, stated that it's time for Russia to abandon its tolerance for its neighbors, including Ukraine, joining the European Union. I would like to remind you that at the beginning of the conflict, the Russians weren't against the joining of the European Union from the Ukrainian side, but it seems that the Russians were against joining the NATO organization. But it seems that the Russians in coming months are going to change their demands, and they will also be against the joining both the European Union and the NATO organization. And obviously, this is something that is unacceptable for Ukrainians, which means that the conflict on the territory military Ukraine could be prolonged for a very long period of time. The main problem of this prolongation, of course, is the budget of the United States of America, the military budget. I would like to remind you that today, according to information we have, Trump is pushing a 1.5 trillion defense budget, a 40% increase in the largest since the Second World War, putting military expansion first. And the most important thing, that among this 1.5 trillion defense budget, there is no place for the conflict on the territory of Ukraine. Ukrainians, according to the new version of this budget, won't get even a single dollar, and this is obviously a very, very bad situation for Ukraine, and so on. So that is why it's very difficult to understand how the Ukrainians are planning to continue these conflicts in 2027. Maybe we understand how this is going to be developed in 2026, but what is going to happen next, very difficult. Maybe Zelensky believes that the Republicans will lose the midterm elections that are going to take place in autumn, and the Democrats will return back to the Congress with the majority of seats, and then everything will change, or at least lots of things will change. But everything probably we will understand tomorrow what is going to happen when the ultimatum issued by the President of the United States of America ends, and then we will understand probably how the elections in autumn will finish for the Republican and for Democratic Party of the United States of America. Now let's continue with Ukraine. During the previous 24 hours, both the Russians and the Ukrainians attacked each other with missiles and drones. The Ukrainians attacked the city of Melitopol, and as a result of attack, power outages occurred on the territory of the settlement. The Russians attacked the Pavlograd region, and there were very heavy explosions, and according to pro-Russian sources, the Russians also discovered and destroyed Iris-T air defense system in the area of this region. Furthermore, I would like to remind you that the Pavlograd region is the region where the Ukrainians have developed infrastructure to produce and to get gas and so on, and to transport and to storage gas, and the Russians attacked this infrastructure during the previous 24 hours. The Minister of Defense of Ukraine stated that overnight the Russians used 286 drones, but saying the truth, during this day we haven't received almost anything on this matter. So no videos, no pictures, nothing. Maybe in coming days we will receive additional satellite pictures, and we will understand what exactly the Russians were attacking and what are the consequences of this attack. Now let's discuss the situation on the ground. During the previous 24 hours, additional changes were recorded in the northern Sumi region. The Russians, as you can see, are keeping infiltration process towards the settlement of Bachevsk, and the Russians managed to approach the settlement, and currently the distance between the village itself and the edge positions of sabotage and reconnaissance groups of the armed forces of the Russian Federation is already less than 1.5 kilometers. The Sumi direction. The Russians are keeping advancing in the area of the settlement of Kendrativka. During the previous days, additional changes were recorded. We're talking about, first of all, infiltration areas. Furthermore, the Russians are keeping assault operation on the territory of the village of Miropolye. During the previous 24 hours, additional changes were recorded. The Russians are improving, and the Ukrainians began concentrating and build up in the area of the settlement of Velika Rybitsa. The Russians discovered new positions of the armed forces of Ukraine, and they began bombing down with aviations, which seems that in coming days we'll see very heavy clashes for this territory. And it seems that the Russians have begun assault operation on the settlement of Ryasne, which is located to the southeast of the city of Sumi, and this report was provided by pro-Ukrainian source. These are the changes on the ground. Pro-Ukrainian sources, as a pro-Ukrainian source, as you can see, improved the infiltration area around the settlement of Ryasne, which means that the Russians have almost answered the settlement of Ryasne itself from the east. Furthermore, from the same area we received lots of updates of how Russians were attacking with FPV drones positions of the armed forces of Ukraine in this area. Now let's move further. The Kharkiv direction. During the previous 24 hours, lots of drones of Geraint type were recorded over the city of Kharkiv. The Russians are flying over the settlement, seeking for positions of the armed forces of Ukraine, for military objects and so on. Meanwhile, pro-Russian sources are keeping advancing along the border between the city of Volchansk and the most northeastern parts of the Kharkiv region. These are the changes on the ground in this area between the 31st of March of 2026 and the 4th of April. So we see that the Russians launched a major offensive operation in this region just with one purpose: to establish complete control over this big forest along the border. And when the Russians take this big forest under complete control, then they will be able to connect these two footholds around the city of Volchansk and in the most northeastern parts of the Kharkiv region. Then most likely Russians will continue offensive operation towards the area of the river Oskol, and then they will be able to unite every single and to combine these footholds in one single front line, and they will keep advancing further in the direction of the settlements by the name of Veliki Burluk and Bely Kolodez. As for the area between the city of Kupiansk and Slaviansk, we haven't received almost anything special. There was just a video published by pro-Russian sources from the area of the settlement of Ivanovka. And in this video we can see how Russians managed to discover a concentration of Ukrainian forces in this area. And when the Russians discovered this concentration, they attacked this territory with missiles with probably cluster warheads. Lots of explosions were recorded in this area. Probably this camp, this temporary deployment point, was damaged or even destroyed. It seems that the Ukrainians were using these forests to concentrate their forces before sending them further in the direction of the settlements of Svyatogorsk and the city of Liman, where the clashes are still taking place. The city of Konstantinovka. During the previous 24 hours, additional explosions and bombardments were recorded in the southwestern part. The Russians are trying to force the Ukrainians to fall back from this area, but as we can see, the Ukrainians are still holding their lines. Despite the pressure that the Russians are showing, the Ukrainians are not moving fast. They're trying to hold for as long as possible their positions. The Zaporizhzhia direction. It seems that the Ukrainians launched another wave of a counter-offensive operation. During the previous 24 hours, additional changes on the ground were recorded on the Velika Novoselovka direction. We have added additional infiltration area. Pro-Ukrainian sources expanded a gray zone in this region. According to them, the Ukrainians began advancing in the area of the settlement of Shevchenka and most likely further in the direction of the settlement of Velika Novoselka. I would like to remind you that these days the Russians began the Zaporizhzhia counter-offensive operation with the purpose to restore control over the territories the Russians lost over the February Ukrainian counter-offensive operation, and now the Ukrainians are trying to ruin Russia's plans by counter-attacking in the direction of Velika Novoselovka from the area of Velika Mikhailovka. This counter-offensive operation has just one purpose: to stop the Russians in the area of Uspenovka and to force them to redeploy additional reinforcements and reserves with the purpose to stabilize the situation in the Velika Novoselovka direction. So we see that the clashes in this area continue. The Ukrainians are doing everything they can with the purpose to slow the Russian Orekhov offensive operation that is currently taking place. And that's it for today. The Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.